The Picking Workbench is a new feature in AX 2012 R3. It allows you to create pick lists in a more streamlined interface. When you create a new picking wave session, you can specify attributes such as maximum orders, lines to include, delivery dates, modes of delivery, payment methods, and warehouses for the order selection. After you create the wave, you can review the picked lines and print the picking batches. The wave creation attempts to automatically reserve inventory at pick wave creation, or use the inventory allocation that was done at the sales order entry. When inventory cannot be reserved, messages are displayed. You can set up the Picking Workbench to run in batch mode to support the execution at regular intervals. The Picking Workbench can also be used to generate suggestions for boxing of the picked goods. There are several things that you must set up in the system before you can begin picking by using the Picking Workbench. The setup of these components in the system will control how the picking will be processed. Let's take a look at those now. First, we'll talk about the process flow. The Picking Workbench starts by creating what's called a picking session. After you create the picking session, you'll define the criteria. The criteria is which order should be included. There are many options available. Next, you'll generate the picking batches. This is when AX will loop through all of the available sales orders in the system and either attempt to perform the reservation or add them to the picking batch if they match the criteria. Once the batches are created, you can review the information and lines that were picked on the Picking Workbench form. The picking batches are grouped into logical groups depending on your configuration and setup. The next step in the process is to print batches or sessions. When you print the batches, a group of picking lists are printed together. You can also include a cover sheet with these picking batches. After the batches and sessions have been printed, the final step is to complete the batches or sessions. You might, for example, give one batch to each warehouse worker to complete the physical picks. After the physical picks have been performed and they've brought the picked items to a packing station, you can mark those batches or sessions as being complete. In order to use this process, several setups need to be completed. The first setup is on the warehouse. On the warehouse, you'll want to set up list limits such as how many picking lists can be included in one batch and how many lines can be included in a single batch. You can also set up how you want batches to be split. You can choose options for ship alone items, division, and the delivery mode. Next are the aisles. When you set up aisles for your inventory items, you can add sort codes and specify whether the sort code should be sorted descending. Next, you can create locations. Locations allow you to set up the various different location types such as bulk locations and picking locations. You can also override the sorting information on the individual locations. When you set up a product, you can specify if that product is a ship-alone product, what mode of delivery it should use, and various other settings that can control and be used when filtering in the Picking Workbench. Next, you'll set up warehouse items. When you create the warehouse item, you can specify a default picking location. This is the picking location that AX will attempt to use when picking and performing the reservation automatically. You can also specify other information on the warehouse item, such as the default minimum and store zones. In addition to these configurations, you can also create a workbench profile, which serves as a template for running the Picking Workbench. Workbench profiles are required if you want to schedule the Picking Workbench process as a batch job. Let's switch over to AX and review the setup.